Mr. Speaker, I appreciate your kind words of introductory. I look over to the majority leader and the leadership team, the Democratic leadership team, and I appreciate your indulgence of having me here. I brought with you something that I keep on my desk. I don't know how many of you have one of these. Well, you get the point. But over the years that I've had this, and I'd like to think that, like me, you get many questions now and then, do you just have a minute? I'm able to tell them, I'm going to give you 3 minutes, and then you're done. I suggest that you will save very many minutes in your tenure here in the House to be able to get something like this and be very generous, give them triple the time they want, but and saving you some time. The Speaker's right. I came in here on January 2nd, I was sworn in. January 2nd, 2007 was a historic day here. Lots of crazy stuff happening right where I stand. Happened to be the day that it was my 18th wedding anniversary. I realized as I was swearing to the Constitution that I've already sworn my love to my husband, and it was all appropriate. It's always going to be a special day for me. I came into this body not with a long strategic path to get here, as some of you have. I came into this body because a couple of months before I'd received a phone call from my brother saying, "Do you know Chuck's running for Conti's seat?" And I really didn't care. And he said, "You'd be great at this." And but for a snowstorm that canceled the dance and show practice that I was in for that night, but for the constant urging of my brother believing in me, I would have blown off going to that meeting. Because when he asked me to run, I had to screen that night. And when he finally got me to do it, he said, "You know, you could get out of this tomorrow, but you can't get back into it tomorrow." I made the decision to run, not really knowing what this job was all about, not really knowing about the honor and the privilege and the work and the frustration, but ultimately the great sense of satisfaction that this job brings in being able to serve with so many fine people and those who sat in your seats prior to you, but to serve the people of Pennsylvania, specifically to serve the wonderful people in the 143rd Legislative District, those people who come from 11 different municipalities, 2 of which are cute boroughs, a number of river towns, Philadelphia suburbs that, get serviced by SEPTA if they're up for the hour-and-a-half train ride into the city. Good, hard-working people who sent me here by a very slim margin 12 years ago to be their voice. I swore to them in the beginning, and I leave this body right here, keeping my promises to them of hard work and integrity. My first 4 years, I served in the minority here. At the beginning, that didn't mean too much to me other than those 4 god-awful sets of flights of stairs. But I realized the big difference, and that big difference helped to shape me as a legislator. That big difference of being made to feel irrelevant when, darn it all, I've got the same 64,000 constituents as anyone else does. Let me get that voice out. And it made me realize just how important it is to work across the aisle. I'll never forget when I got all my guts up to go to tell then Minority Leader Sam Smith that I just can't be with you on this vote, Sam. And he looked at me in true Sam fashion. He answered, "So what? Even if you stayed with us, we lose. We're in the minority." I was like, "Yeah, oh, yeah, well, he was right." And I'll never forget when Tony DeLuca, the majority chairman of the Insurance Committee, actually came to my district with Eddie Day Paczynski to have a hearing. A freshman in the minority having a hearing. I was too naive to realize that that just doesn't typically happen. And I appreciate it then. And I've learned from that and learned from then being the last 8 years in the majority that it is, in fact, important to work across the aisle, not just with our colleagues, but with the Democrat staff and leadership as we try to work for bills that are good for the majority of the people we serve. It's been a privilege. We've heard a lot of people standing here talking about how important it is to work across the aisles. During my 12 years, we've had some census data that has shown that while the population of Pennsylvania, the numbers have shifted from the west to the east, picking up House and Senate seats more on the eastern side of the state, we've seen our leadership in both chambers switch from the east more towards the west. Majority, minority, leadership positions, all of that, those things are going to be going back and forth. We know it. History shows it. But what I think is as important as working across the aisle in a bipartisan fashion is working across the Commonwealth in different regional factions. I've had the privilege of having my best friends here, being not just from my backyard in Bucks County. I've had wonderful support from my Bucks County colleagues, but getting to know, for example, Donna Oberlander in the 10 years that we've shared living space together, it's been wonderful. Yeah, we cancel each other's votes out sometimes. Yeah, we don't try and take that home, but what's important is when we talk about where I come from and where she comes from, we realize that we're doing what we were sent here to do, to represent the people of either the, 69th? 63rd or the 143rd. And we have good conversations, just like Majority Leader Reid was just saying. I think it's really important that we make sure, and I challenge you as you come back next session, that you find someone in different parts of the state, be it in your caucus or the other caucus, and you try to get to know what goes on there. Just so that as sometimes our regional divides seem deep, you know that you're having conversations, and whether you agree or disagree or you're going to cancel out the vote, you know where they're coming from. Because we are all coming here with the right reason in our hearts to do what's right for the people of Pennsylvania. I mentioned my husband, John. John, our 18th wedding anniversary, we were all here. My kids at that point were in 6th and 9th grades. You know, it was pointed out to me yesterday by Carolyn that she's basically spent half of her life with this as her life. And for all of you, you know what this life is. It's like saying I'm going to be home real soon and you're not. You know, we now take 2 cars to church because they know I'm going to be stopped to talk. Nobody wants to food shop with me because just tack another 40 minutes onto that. My family has been with me and patient. They've taught me, and even most recently, gave me a special message that when you stand up to do what's right, it's right, even if you feel you're standing alone. Girls, I'm proud of you. My Carolyn, my daughter Maggie, they both ran for and became presidents of their high schools, respectively. I'll never forget when I was first elected and, was given some stuff, including like my name stamp. And when I needed it, it was gone. Well, Carolyn thought in 6th grade that's what she got when you got a mom who's in Harrisburg for her tests. That name stamp was made just for you. Remember that, Cara? I still haven't gotten that back. The girls have been, from the time they were working the polls with the bright signs of vote for my mom, to the level of maturity that they've come in and they actually help me now with policy with regard to what I do here, but what I aspire to do in the new year. I thank you. I know this job has not always been easy on all 3 of you as my family. Thank you for encouraging me. Thank you for kicking me out the door. Thank you for having dinners home ready for me, the fridge full, the laundry done, and all of those things. I love you. You inspire me. I promised them that I wouldn't be calling them out and giving their resumes and all of that. Just know I'm really proud of them, and I wish for all of you to have the same relationships as I do with my kids. We talked about our district staffs and the thank yous that we want to give there, and our Harrisburg staffs. My district office staff is not here with me today. We run a really lean office of 2 people, and we do a lot of work in there, as you know. People come to that office not because they have nothing to do, but because they need help. Really, have any of you ever called your state rep's office just to complain? Well, some of you may have. But I have a district office staff that, like your staffs, they make me look good. When I go door to door, I hear about the wonderful things that I've done. And I know that I didn't do it alone. I did it with Diane and with Kira. I did it with Ashley in the beginning. All of these people who helped form this office and helped make the brand of Marguerite Quinn a constituent service, friendly, effective, caring brand. I thank you all for that. And I'll put MB Mary Beth Morey right in there for being with me all these 12 years. Our Harrisburg staff, I've heard them called gatekeepers, friends, family, and I could say all of that. The level of professionalism for caring, the institutional knowledge that I've been fortunate to have with me in Kathy Waddington, who refused, when she retired a year ago, to let me come out here and have a speech said about her. She refused. But when I had a secretary leave in August to go join another agency, Kathy actually came out of retirement to help me out in these last few months. Kathy's somewhat of a family legacy here. Her mother worked for Speaker Matt Ryan. Her daughter works for Chairman Tina Pickett. This is a family that's been dedicated to making all of us look good, to make the trains run on time. Kathy, I thank you for this. I'd be remiss if I didn't say to Jen Haynes sitting next to her, Jen's never really been my secretary. She's Cheryl Delogier's, but she's always looked out for me. She's my radar, and she's not even my secretary. She hears what I'm saying. She knows what I like in my coffee. She's just been a wonderful friend, covering all the way. Thank you. There's so many staff around here that make us look good, that make us smart, that help us take our ideas and make them law. I'm looking straight back at Karen Dalton, who's just did a yeoman's job for this tiny little petite thing she is. She's a fierce attorney, looking out for the underdog, helping with that House Bill 2060 to get that across the line was no easy task, yet it was only the most recent task that Karen's done with the rest of the judiciary staff. Chairman Marsico, thank you for lending that expertise and putting your weight behind that bill. Serving on the Appropriations Committee has been among the high honors that I've had here, and that staff on both sides of the aisle is just absolutely fantastic. Thank you all, especially when you've had to spoon feed me some of the numbers again and again till those lights went off. Thank you for allowing me to be the pragmatic legislator and boosting me with good facts. I look back at my cousin, Michael Corr, who it made my term, this last term, so special having Mike here with us. You're going to be losing 3 sets of cousins this year. Do you know that? You got the Costas, you've got the Keller O'Briens, and the Corr Quinns. Michael, it's been a pleasure having you here with me, and I know you made our grandparents proud. Thank you. I come from the 143rd Legislative District. That happens to be the home to the Moravian Tile Works. All those tiles that I'd probably curse nowadays when I'm on high heels, but I don't because I know they're from my district. They're tiles that come from the clay in Bucks County, the same clay from the Quakertown swamp that's been producing those tiles for well over 100 years. I don't know if you realize this, but back when Henry Mercer came out to pitch to the architect the idea of having those clay tiles line this Capitol, he had a very interesting sales pitch. As you know, we're lined by marble, white marbles down in that rotunda. Beautiful, beautiful quality products, expensive products, products that were actually part of a big thoughts about corruption and such when this beautiful building was built. But what was interesting about utilizing the tiles, the Moravian tiles for this Capitol, it was the thought that it's clay representing the common man. It was the clay, the rough textures. They're not smooth, as we know. They're irregular in shape. They're irregular in size. The stark color of red is a contrast to the beauty that we have lining the walls. The mosaics, of over 400 of those mosaics, represent Pennsylvania, from the Indians, the Native American Indians, through the farming communities, through the progression of Pennsylvania in its different industries of farming, of locomotive, of coal, of oil. It would be interesting to see if we could update some of them. But they're a living, breathing remembrance that we are here and grounded by common clay representing the people of Pennsylvania and in all of their works of life. And I look at those and I'm reminded of the metaphor that here we have the common clay, this common foundation, worthless clay that has been such a strong ground for all of us. And as I walk those halls and I look around at the beauty of the walls, and as we keep going up and we look at the gold, the stained glass, the carved crystal, the paintings, most of which was done by European immigrants that were brought in here to decorate this beautiful building. I ask you to share with me that this metaphor is what the people of Pennsylvania actually want when they think of government, that they want us to remember that we're here for the common person, and through government, we aspire to greatness and beauty. I'd like you to take that and think of it now and then. And thank you for allowing me to share it. Thank you for allowing me to share laughs, memories, hard work, and the pleasure of being your colleague for the last 12 years. I'll see you on the other side.